Hey everybody, what is up? The new freaking hero showed up, Greystone. This guy is a melee tank. He could probably jungle, although I don't play him as a jungler. This guy, the new hero, he's awesome, badass looking. Look at that armor, look at that sword. This video is all about him, talking about his abilities, great ways to play him, and great ways to build him. So first, we're going to talk about his abilities and what they mean for him as a hero. You have his basic attack, starts off at 40 damage, and has a 1.2 second attack speed. It's a little faster than normal. I like it personally, it feels just about right. His next skill, his R1, or right click, would be Assault the Gates, and this is where he leaps as far as 1,000 units, dealing starting at 40 physical damage and a small AoE when he lands. It looks cool, and it works really well for both getting up on ledges and just trying to escape your enemies. Next is his Make Way skill, and this is his AoE farming skill. He summons a fiery whirlwind that deals a total of X amount of physical damage in an area around him over the course of 5 seconds. Now, I find this not to be a very strong skill damage-wise, but it's great for helping to get the last hit on minions when they are low health. It really doesn't do a ton of damage. I remember I was doing around 136 damage on my basic attack, and my Make Way skill, which is a square by the way, was doing around 130 damage over 5 seconds. Not a ton of DPS from what I've noticed. I'm fairly certain I'm not mistaking it, but either way. His next ability, Stoic, is a passive ability, and upon acquiring this ability, you are granted 11 extra physical armor and 100 health. But by the time you max out this passive skill, you have around 25 to 28 extra physical armor and 200 health. And this is the skill that, in my opinion, makes him more of a tank than, say, Grux or, well, Feng Mao. He's about on equal terms as, with Feng Mao in terms of tankability, with just abilities alone taken into account. And then we have his ultimate called Reforged that starts at a 240-second cooldown. Now this ultimate is interesting because it's a passive. And let me read the description here. When Greystone dies, he turns to stone, which he does, and after a 3-second amazing-looking animation, his spirit re-enters his body from above, giving him 50% health and full mana. He then comes back to life, knocking up and dealing, starting at 200 physical damage to all nearby enemies. And it's this kind of ultimate that makes Greystone such a great engager for the team, like a tanky melee fighter engager. You can engage the enemy and they'll focus you down first, but then you'll just ultimate and knock up anyone around you and do some damage and come back to life as if nothing happened. And on top of that, if you have some lifesteal, then bam, you can get yourself back up to full health. It is a great skill. It's also great for tower diving because you can dive the tower, die, and still take out the tower. I love it, and I'll show you some clips of me doing that as well. So his ultimate aside, what skills do you like to max out with this guy? For me personally, I max out his Make Way skill first, followed by Stoic, his tanking ability, to get that out of the way and get him a little bit more tanky before endgame hits, and then I finish it with Assault the Gates. Because I rarely use it as an engager, I use it more of a disengage, and in that regard, I don't need the extra damage that comes from leveling it up. You know what I'm saying. So we get what his abilities are and what they do, and that's all fine and dandy and good. But what about building him? You know, minute-to-minute gameplay, what items and deck and everything else to use? Well, first, let's start off with the fact that his two affinities are Fury and Order, a good mix of both offensive and defensive. Order especially has a lot of really great cards that, say, give critical chance on top of giving you physical armor, magical resistance, as well as reduction in other ways to damage. It's really a really great affinity to have on a hero that plays like a fighter, such as Grux or Feng Mao. And actually, the cool thing about that is that Feng Mao is also Fury and Order, so in a lot of ways, you can take your Feng Mao build and kind of adapt it to Greystone, and for the most part, they will work. In my experience with playing Greystone, I build I start off the game by building lots of damage, and then I build attack speed. Now, having a good amount of attack speed on Greystone is very important. Otherwise, you will lose fights where your resistances won't be able to out-defend the damage that's coming in, and you won't have enough damage going out, likewise, to kill the other opponent before they kill you. But if you can hit that threshold of having enough damage to kill them while you mitigate their damage, then yeah, it won't be a problem. So again, I start off with damage, and then I start building into both critical chance and attack speed. I finish attack speed first, but I do want to have just a little bit of critical chance because those cards grant you the order cards that I'm talking about. I only use critical chance cards from the order affinity because they will give physical resistance, energy armor, and like I said, all of the other things. So I get at least one of those cards going first. I don't finish it until I have fully completed a full equipment for attack speed. Now I'm talking about at least 9 upgrade points worth of attack speed upgrade cards in said equipment, and then you'll be right around a great place for overall attack speed. You can go for more attack speed if you want later on, but personally I go for more critical, having around 30 to 40%, and then after critical and damage and attack speed is all taken care of, I build lifesteal. Yes, I use the Fury Infinity to get some nice lifesteal cards on there, and there's a good one that gives you 3% crit chance and 8 lifesteal, and then when you complete it you get another 4 lifesteal. So I might put 2 upgrade cards of lifesteal on that, and then maybe just a little bit more crit too. But it is important to have the order cards necessary to make yourself tanky while also being able to do damage. You're not a Chimera. You're not the kind of guy that has the ability to regen, to spec into the growth affinity, and as such, a lot of your defense are going to come from your order equipment, and a lot of your healing is going to come from your Fury equipment. Okay, so we have a pretty good idea on his abilities and how to build him, as well as what kind of deck you're going to want to use. So let's move on to actually playing him from moment to moment in game. I personally don't really play him as a jungle all of that much. I feel people like Feng Mao, Grux, and Chimera do a little bit of a better job of that, especially Chimera with his attack speed and his natural regen and ability to just farm really quick. Same with Feng Mao, his AoE and Grux's AoE attacks are a great deal stronger than Greystone's slow and tedious fire spinning. No, there are definitely better heroes to jungle in my opinion. I take Greystone and personally put him in one of the side lanes. I played him on the right side lane for this match that you're watching, and it turned out pretty great. My Twin Blast did die a couple of times, but it wasn't really my fault, if you get what I'm saying. But that said, you can have an aggressive farming presence in lane while still being able to tank the enemy fairly well due to your abilities and due to your Order and Fury equipment. And from a playstyle perspective, Greystone is a great roamer. He's a great ganker. So if you notice your Twin Blast or whoever's carrying in your lane doing a good job and they're farming and they're pushing the enemy and they're also being careful, you can leave that lane and you can gank mid. And like I said, using his ultimate, using all of his abilities, you can tower dive easily, come back to life, get out of there if you need to get the kill, if that's what it takes to get the kill. Otherwise, he has a good kit for ganking, and he can do a decent amount of damage just with his basic attacks. But remember, you're always going to want to build him for damage in his basic attack. If you build him for ability type of damage, you know, like a Richter or something, he's not going to do very well because that's not where his damage comes from. Now, after laning phase ends, he'll be able to jungle, of course. That won't be a problem. I wouldn't say he'd be great at soloing the Prime Orb simply because he just doesn't have that built-in regen, and he would really only be able to solo it if it's late game and you have your lifesteal and you have your attack speed and attack damage and everything. Then yeah. But past that, when it comes to team fights, you're going to want to be in front of the enemy. You're going to want to be taking all of those hits because a large part of your crowd control comes from your ultimate, and you can't really choose to use your ultimate when you want to because you need to die. So you need to be in the front lines, taking those shots, pushing, using your abilities to engage. And I've seen it work against me pretty well. I played Murdoch, and their enemy Greystone was pushing against us, and we were all focused on him, and everybody else behind him was killing us, and it worked out really well. So that's the kind of strategy that I implore you to use when you're playing Greystone. Because when your ultimate is up, you really don't have a lot to lose. You go in there and then you die, and then anyone around you within a pretty wide radius is going to get knocked up and take some damage. That's great crowd control. It's like a reverse Muriel. At the end of the day, Greystone is a fun melee tanky hero that isn't so proficient at jungling as he is just wrecking enemy teams in team fights and just generally being a tanky nuisance, especially with his ultimate. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments down below what you think about this hero. Have you played him? How do you like to build him? Do you build him more tanky, or do you build him more like a glass cannon? I'd like to know. We'll have a cool discussion about it. I think that'd be cool. If you haven't subscribed, now would be a great time. I make videos like this every 2 days, always covering the newest heroes when they come out as soon as possible. Luckily, I had a great team and they let me play this guy right off the bat, even though I wasn't first pick, and I asked for it, real nice, and they were like, yeah, sure. So that was really cool. But again, thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership, and I will catch you next time. Oh, and one last thing, I would like to apologize a little bit for my squeaky and Haley nose thing going on when I breathe. I feel like that's part my nose being too dry and part my microphone just being kind of stupid. I'm actually using a headset microphone, and it's like a $50 headset. It's just not that great a quality, so that's why once I get my YouTube money this month, I'm going to be investing in a blue snowball microphone. So hopefully I'll sound a lot better. I might sound completely different. That would be really cool, right? But it might help eliminate some of the whole inhaley, nasally sound going on. So either way, I appreciate you watching and putting up with it. I will catch you next time.